So you have Mattel, the maker of these products. Where does the stores that sell them fit in? What kind of responsibility do you feel? For example, Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Where does Wal-Mart fit into this?
Oh, sure. I mean, they're part of the whole process. So they're equally responsible. I mean, Mattel is primarily responsible because it's their Barbie. But the odd thing that the American people would find hard to believe is that Barbie's protected by laws. I mean, the Barbie dolls, the Barbie toys. Mattel has demanded enforceable laws backed up by sanctions to defend Barbie. In fact, Mattel sues on the average of once a month. They're the craziest company in the world for suing and suing and suing to protect Barbie. So they fiercely protect Barbie. And if you imitate it or use Barbie in a way they don't want you to, they're going to sue you.
The Barbie doll itself is not in this.
No, but they'll sue for anything that's related to Barbie because they want to protect that. So if someone's using it in an artistic manner, they're going to come in and sue you. They sued this rock group in Denmark for making up a song about Barbie. I'm a blonde bimbo, you know, I'm plastic, you know, dress me up tight, you know, it goes on and on. It's hilarious. And they were sued by Mattel. But so Mattel has legal protections for Barbie. But when you say to Mattel, can't we have similar laws to protect the rights of the 16-year-old girl in China who made this toy? They say no. That would be an impediment to free trade. So the system is so skewed that you have the doll is protected, the pet doctor is protected, but not the human being who made it, because Mattel and the other companies and Walmart say, no, you're not going to do that. So this is essentially what happened with Gap, too, with the 10-year-old kids working 16 hours a day. They have 90 monitors to monitor 2,700 factories. You know, they're not going to be able to do it. And those factories are hidden. Gap doesn't give the names of those factories either. So it really is a scam. I'd say the situation is so deplorable that these codes of conduct, voluntary codes of conduct and private monitoring schemes, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. I mean, the reality is so unpalatable, they have to come up with some ridiculous facade to try to make it seem palatable to the American people. But I think the American people, parents would be shocked to know the markup on these toys and shocked to know the dismal conditions the workers live in. You know?
What is your response to this report that came out, the Guardian, the London Observer, revealing that the kids as young as 10 years old subjected to working these very long hours, also being beaten? Charlie Kernaghan, you're the one who first exposed Gap. Now Gap saying they're going to cut their ties with the subcontractor. Talk about your history with the Gap.
Well, we had found the Gap in 1985 in a factory in El Salvador called Mandarin, where there was children working, young teenage girls who were sexually harassed and abused, cheated of their wages, forced to work sometimes all night. I mean, a miserable place. And when we confronted the Gap about this, they waived a code of conduct at us. And they said, we have a corporate code of conduct that protects the rights of these workers. How dare you say that to us? And I got my hands on the code of conduct, and I looked at it, and it was beautiful, like a little pamphlet, and it was printed on treeless paper because Gap wouldn't hurt a tree. It was printed with soya-based ink because there's something wrong with ink. So I said to the Gap, I said, you know, this thing's remarkable. Like, reads like the Bible. It's you could eat it. It's so good for you. It reads well. It's perfect. But Gap had never translated into a foreign language. It was completely PR. They told me, the vice president said, oh, we had inadvertently forgotten to translate the code of conduct into foreign languages. So it started out as a scam, and it ended up as a scam. Not long ago, in 2006, we found Gap clothing being made in Jordan by slaves, by people who were indentured servants, who came from guest workers, who came from Bangladesh and China, India, Sri Lanka. When they got to the country, they were stripped of their passports. They were people without a country. They were locked in factories to work 16 to 20 hours a day. They were cheated of their wages. They were beaten, and they were raped, and there were 14-year-old girls working in that factory. So, you know, in other words, it continues. People think that child labor ended with the Kathy Lee Gifford. It didn't. I mean, it diminished greatly. But there are children working in Guatemala, in the fields picking broccoli for the United States. It goes on and on.
You just testified before the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation yesterday. What did you say?
Well, basically, just confronted Mattel, confronted Speedo, confronted Thomas and Friends, because there are about 3 million toy workers in China in 8,000 factories who are being abused and exploited. It turns out Santa's helpers are really young women in China who are being forced to work 14 and a half to 16 and a half hours a day, cheated of their wages, fired if they're inattentive at work. In other words, these are poor women being cheated of their wages and were living under primitive conditions that we couldn't believe. For example, in the Speedo, in the factory that was producing Speedo in this Guangdong Vanguard factory, Speedo is the best-known swim brand in the world, best-selling swim brand in the world, and an Olympic sponsor. But the workers were working 7 days a week. They're at the factory 100 hours, over 100 hours a week. And one worker actually broke down crying as he discussed working 23 hours on Speedo project. They had to work right through the night, 23 hours. And his job was at a punch compression machine where they molded the swim masks. And he had to do 9 pieces. He had to do 1 piece every 9 to 12 seconds. And he describes being so exhausted, and you're putting your hands into this dangerous machine to place the goggles, and how terrified you are the machine's going to tear your hands off if you stop for 1 second, because the machine doesn't stop, and you had to work 23 hours. There's no Olympic athlete in the world, no matter how great they are, that could do what the sweatshop workers in China are doing. Not one, but they won't. But the Olympic athletes also won't speak up for these workers who are making their products.
So what about the Olympics in China? What are you calling for?
Well, I think it would be a very excellent time to put pressure on China. If these Olympic athletes would speak up, 1 athlete, 2 athletes, 3 athletes.
Have you approached any?
We're trying. They're very difficult to reach. We've found over the years athletes don't really respond. And we've tried with the NBA, with football, with baseball. It's almost impossible to get a statement. But President Bush, he said he's going to the Olympics because he loves sports. Let him say something about these sweatshop conditions. This is, Speedo is a very popular company. So I think the Olympics are a very good time to put pressure on for the workers in China so that, they have the right to climb out of misery. They have no voice. In the Speedo factory, if a supervisor is screaming at you and yelling at you and humiliating you in front of all your friends and coworkers, if you even answer back, if you dare answer back to that supervisor, you're attacked, you're choked, you're beaten, and you're fired. The workers have no voice. And so we're really dealing with a system where the workers are completely stripped of their rights, paid pitiful wages, and the dormitories you couldn't believe. Double-level bunk beds line the walls, filthy, no furniture, no chairs, nothing.
Should these companies in this country, like Speedo, like Mattel, should they just shut down their factories in China?
No, but they should respect the laws of China. But as a matter of fact, when there was a recent move to improve the labor law in China, guess who fought it? U.S. companies. So here's an authoritarian regime. They were finally going to strengthen their labor laws a little bit, and guess who came in to oppose it? Wal-Mart and all the multinationals came in and said, no, if you improve the labor laws, we're leaving the country. You're going to lose investments. So they're in China because they know they can work with an authoritarian government. They know the workers have no real unions. There's no real human rights organizations. They can do whatever they want, and they can pay these pitifully low wages. They're going to fight to the end to maintain that. So in a sense, the only way to stop this is to say to the companies, as Congress is doing now, Senator Dorgan and Congressman Michaud in the House, they're saying to the companies, fine, you can produce any way you want, but you're not bringing those products into the United States if they're not made under humane conditions, and we're going to hold you legally accountable to respect the ILO core labor standards. This is actually the fastest growing bill in the House. It has about 120 co-sponsors. It's like coming out of nowhere, the Decent Working Conditions and Fair Competition Act. It's going to sneak right up there. And the companies are going to be caught off guard, and they're finally going to have to respect the legal rights of the workers.
Charlie Kernaghan, we'll leave it there. We'll link to your studies at democracynow.org. Charles Kernaghan is Executive Director of the National Labor Committee based in New York. He testified last Thursday before the Senate committee. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. When we come back, we'll talk about the new president-elect of Argentina, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner. Stay with us.
Kids, you need to change your tune. That Avenue, you traveling, unraveling soon. You'll be battling doom. What does it matter to you? Worry about who is laughing at you? Your appearance is more important than what's really real. Cause here it is, situation bad, not meaning good. A lot be in the hood that got me with nowhere to put my trust in. No discussion, spontaneous combustion, lust and greed. If you ain't up to speed, use a duck you need. Cats ain't got enough to eat. So there's bluffs and beef, chicks up the street, the tricks come to see. Guns under the sheets, shells pummel your meat. Pork and for a still, Duke gets sorta chill, sitting on about 40 mil. But his old quarter gets spilled over those sorta deals that get you sorta killed up in court looking for a
The world's gone fast. We lost the love we had. Show, take me away. 'Cause the world's gone fast. We lost the love we had.
The world's gone mad.